Hello world, I'm Chris Pirillo and you're tuned in to a live stream of consciousness, me thinking about Apple's announcements. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably not watching it live. I'm just recording it live. I started to do this for my patrons, but as they know, I wasn't able to do it during the Apple Keynote presentation yesterday when they announced the iPhone 7 and, let's see here, the Apple Watch Series 2 and a whole bunch of other things that I wanted to dive into. Just my thoughts, brief thoughts, not extended in any way, shape, or form, but if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I usually do the AMA on, well, at this stage, Tuesday and Thursday for patrons. Happy to answer questions that I may not cover. So, in terms of, like, was I excited? Was I not excited? Do I think, Apple's doing the right thing? I'm always excited about new stuff that I think can help me. And there was really nothing I was disappointed by. Now, I know a lot of people who really don't know what the hell they're talking about claim that Apple isn't innovative anymore, but as you probably know, again, if you are a patron, you've heard me discuss this at length. Innovation is incremental. It's iterative. And you cannot sit there and claim with a straight face, I mean, you might be able to, but that the iPhone 7 is no different from the iPhone 6 or 6S. It may look similar, but that doesn't mean it's the same. Apple has pretty much improved everything across the board. Well, maybe not everything, but in terms of, what I would be looking for in a device, they've answered most, if not all, of my questions. I do have a few more qualifiers to throw in there because I have not yet decided, in case that was the question, what are you going to get? What are you going to get? What are you going to get? Right now, I've got an inclination, but I don't know. So I believe this is in order of the keynote reveal, although I should say that Apple was tweeting information ahead of its keynote. If you were on Twitter, which I was at this point during the broadcast, because I wasn't doing a live broadcast with patrons, and Apple was tweeting information about their new products ahead of the keynote reveal. Oops. Apple's kind of new to Twitter. They never really got social, but we'll forgive them. The first big exciting thing that I saw, of course, was the Super Mario Brothers. Or, just the addition of Super Mario Brothers and the Mario franchise to iOS. Long overdue, but it's not really a surprise after the runaway success with Pokemon Go. In fact, Pokemon Go or Niantic and Nintendo were both on stage. Someone asserted on Twitter, yeah, do you think Apple's courting Nintendo for an acquisition? I'm like, that would be one hell of an acquisition, let me tell you. All that IP? Man, I think Apple can monetize Nintendo's IP better than Nintendo can monetize it. That's my feeling, and I'm sure a lot of people will be upset about it, but you know what? If you're upset about that, you probably shouldn't be watching this video. You need to find a different hobby. That's not something to get upset about. I am excited that Super Mario Brothers or Mario is coming. I'll give it a shot. I'm a little concerned about the whole in-app purchase thing, but remember, I'm the guy who bought games on cartridges, or I didn't necessarily buy it. I didn't have money back then, but my parents bought games on cartridges, which now I'm partially collecting, the Atari cartridges. You'll see it play out in the vlog. One interesting thing, and it's still the case right now, this is the first time we've ever seen something like this. You can actually be notified for the Super Mario Brothers edition in iOS. You can press the notify button, and you'll be notified, apparently. That's great. That's cool. I don't imagine anybody would really want to be notified about, small things, but big things like that. I think it's a great idea to keep people in the loop. Really neat, nice little addition to the App Store. iWork now has collaboration features, long overdue. We've seen, Microsoft do this kind of. Granted, they were doing it before anybody else was doing it, but it was expensive and clunky, and still kind of is clunky. Google's been doing it for some time. There have been startups that have kind of attacked this space in terms of live collaboration. That is now coming to iWork across iOS, macOS, and of course the web. What was interesting about that was when they revealed it, they actually ate their own dog food on stage and showed you, like, live in real time, like what was going on. They did it. Like that, it was a live demo, and I thought that was pretty powerful. It was a great way of demonstrating what it was that they were working on. So that was really what took me aback, that they felt confident enough to use it on stage. It may be very beneficial to you. we've got other collaborative features that are coming in iOS 10, which I'm going to sidestep and say right now. I am running the developer build on my iPhone of iOS 10, and that's almost got to be a separate video because I've got some thoughts on iOS 10. Most of them are good, believe it or not. iOS 10 runs better on the iPhone 6S than iOS 9. Generally, they've made some design decisions that are better, and they've made some design decisions that I believe are far worse. Specifically, like the notification center, these gigantic bubbles that sometimes you can take action on and sometimes you can't. It's just kind of awkward. But animations, by and large, have been cleaned up in iOS 10. On an iPhone 6, that's what it's showing. I'm going to be putting it on Diana's iPhone 6S Plus, iPhone 6S. So I'd expect even better in the iPhone 7. We'll get to iPhone 7 news here in just a bit, but I wanted to mention that, if only to let you know what else you can stay tuned for from me in the coming few days. So, the Pokemon Go integration of the Apple Watch, interesting if you're still playing Pokemon Go. I never got into it. Then the announcement of Apple Watch Series 2 right at $369. The big additions, of course, being Swimproof, a built-in GPS. They increased the battery size so that it could handle more, but it also increased like by 1 millimeter, so it's not exactly the same size as the original Apple Watch or now the corresponding Apple Watch Series 1. Now, what is interesting is with Series 2, they've upgraded the CPU and GPU on the chip with the S2 processor, but so this is an upgrade over the S1 in the original Apple Watch. They're bringing that processor and everything with it, including, I'd assume, the GPU, to the Apple Watch First Edition, or whatever they're calling the first Apple Watch. This, but not this, is now going to be known as Apple Watch Series 1 with the new CPU/GPU, better performance. And given that there's really no compelling new feature for me in an Apple Watch Series 2, I'm inclined to upgrade to an Apple Watch Series 1, which would still be an upgrade because of the processor and GPU, because that has been one of my major complaints over the watch, even running watchOS 3, which I am. And I can't say that watchOS 3 makes it perform any better in terms of how I use it or what I perceive. And I mean, I guess I'm not that impressed with watchOS 3 in terms of performance improvements. Now, watchOS 3 on an Apple Watch Series 1 could be improved. This because of better processor, and yeah, I'd imagine that would mitigate a lot of the issues I have with frame drops and inconsistencies with navigation and animations. So that's my plan. What's going to happen with this Apple Watch? It is going to float to Diana. Diana is going to get this watch. She's wanted it. I'm like, well, just wait. I think in terms of how she's going to use it, I don't think she's going to use it to tell the time, weather, and get notifications. She's probably going to turn off notifications on half her apps, because otherwise it's buzz. Then no, and what's weird is that the notification is on. There's the new weather app. Swipe down. The notifications have still got this kind of old look to them versus the newer look on. See, look, I've got these new notifications. I can't actually. It says press for more, but you got to hard press. And maybe the apps have got to be updated to have more rich information in the notifications than I'd expect they would with the coming iOS 10. But that to me is like a lot of wasted space. That's just me. Usability, I'll get used to it, I suppose. So that's my thoughts on the Apple Watch Series 1 and Series 2. Series 2, not for me. Not into needing GPS for activity, not into swimming, and the faster processors coming to the Series 1. So I'll save a few bucks, and Diana will get one in tow. I think we'll both be happy. September 9th pre-order, that's when I'll do it. September 16th launch, awesome. watchOS available generally on September 13th. Now, moving on to the iPhone. They spent a lot of time, by the way, in this presentation on working out and being healthy. I kind of felt like, they're not speaking to me at all. Okay, maybe you are. I tried, I did, and the watch helped. It did. It helped keep me on track, but yeah, more and more, I'm just using the watch for time, information, and that's it, just at a glance, and that's it. Because I haven't found much need to use it for anything else. Notifications, yes. Everything else, maybe not. So, jet black, this new design, the chassis, basically the shell of the iPhone, looks amazing, looks breathtaking, and I'm like, yes, that's the one I want. This piano black, that's what it was rumored to be called. Jet black is what they're calling it. I wanted it. I was in. And then I thought, that's probably going to scratch really easily. And indeed, this is what Apple said. Yeah, you're probably going to want to get a case if you don't like scratches. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not getting jet black. I'm going to get a case. I always do. But I don't think it would be worth getting a jet black phone if all I'm going to do is bury it in a case, which I'm going to do. So I'm going to be fine with what they're just calling black, or the matte black, which is going to have a finish that's close to like the space gray. I'll be fine. It'll be great. I have no problem with that. Honestly, I'm not gonna get a case. Now, maybe Apple's going to release like a jellyfish type of case, which I don't think Apple ever did. Did they? They had like the bumper. But a jellyfish case would get me wondering if I did want to go with the jet black. Because I would be inclined to get the jet black if it was a jellyfish case from Apple. I've had third-party jellyfish cases in the past. But anyway, so black is probably going to be fine for me. I'm good. Yeah, some people look at the design, the outside of the phone and go, I don't know, it just looks the same. I don't care. I don't care. It could look the same for years to come. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. I don't care. It's not what sells me on a device necessarily. I mean, is it usable? Yes. Everything about it seems similar. I'm like, great. Similar is good, and it's better. Okay. Sign me up. So just a few general changes specifically around antenna placement and how it was kind of made more invisible, I guess, with certain design changes on the outside. For the most part, they didn't modify the general design of the iPhone, and I'm okay with that. It's not where I don't care. You know me, not a hardware guy at all. At all. I mean, I like good hardware, but I like good hardware that runs with good software, and I think, it's been fine for a long time. I've got no issue with that. So I don't need Apple to innovate the design of the iPhone every other year. Thank you very much. Every 5 years is fine for me. Maybe 10. I don't know. I haven't thought about it that much. Now, one of the bigger changes because a couple of the bigger changes that are in the. Oh my God! I didn't even make note of this. It just shows you where this particular idea sits with me. I didn't even write a note on this. Everyone's the whole thing that everyone talks about, or everyone, is the removal of the headphone jack. Shrug emoji. I don't care. I'm ambivalent. I use the headphone jack. I do every so often, like when I'm traveling, right? And then I use it, and it's inconsequential to either use the adapter at that stage, which I was using anyway with a case. You have to use like a thicker battery case. You have to use an adapter to get in there, and it comes with an adapter. They're not even selling that at this stage. Because it's a lightning port. You use the lightning port, right, to charge the phone and to use any kind of wired connections. Their answer are the wireless earbuds or AirPods. I'll get to those in a second. I didn't even write down the fact that it's missing a headphone jack. Quite honestly, this is going to upset a lot of people too. And again, if you're the type of person who gets upset about this, you need to reevaluate your position in life and how you feel about this. I would be more upset if it still came with a headphone jack. Mic dropped. No, actually, phone dropped right there. I would be more upset if it came with a headphone jack. Why? Well, the number one complaint seems to be from a majority of people, normies, not nerds, not geeks, certainly not dweebs or dorks. Maybe, some other types, but it's battery life. So by giving more space for other components inside the new iPhone, which looks like the old iPhones, the iPhone 7 now has two more hours of battery life. The iPhone 7 Plus has 1 more hour on top of the 6S Plus. Still, substantial. Which would you rather have? A headphone jack or 2 hours of battery life? I'm guessing that if it came down to it, people would say both, but both is impossible. So you got to pick one or the other. And I think Apple's right. I'm going to say it. Now, some people are DRM, DRM. Dude, your whole life is DRM'd. You don't even know it. Now wireless technology has to get better. It's forced to. Trust me. And Apple's not that's the thing. They are not the first to remove the headphone jack. I'm not giving them credit for doing it. I'm just saying that I'm ambivalent. I don't care. I'm happier without it. Until I run into an experience where I'm proven otherwise. And like, dang you, lightning port. Yeah. I guess I'm going to be scouting for some decent Bluetooth phones. Although I'm interested in what they're going to do. I should wait on this, but I guess it's relevant to talk about it now. The W1 chipset that they're going to have with the AirPods. You open the case. AirPods are separate, $169 or whatever. Pricey, but you get more than just a listening thing. I don't like the earpods at all because they really hurt. Allegedly, the AirPods are more comfortable. I don't want to spend the money to find out. Also, those things are very dangerous in the sense that if you have a kid, you don't want small things around. They're going to be lost like you wouldn't believe, dropped. I'm like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't need that stress. I stress out enough in dropping a phone. I don't want to lose something so incredibly small and having to pay a premium for it. Not interested. Now, what would drive me then to Beats is if there was a wired/wireless one that I guess they're working. I haven't looked too deeply into Beats. I've only tried Beats once years ago, long before the acquisition. But I like the W1 idea, making it's kind of like Apple's iteration of Bluetooth, making it better, easier. I'm like, okay, great. I'll give it a shot. I'll try it. And I'll wear the Beats logo. Or cover it up with some Star Wars sticker, probably. So, the AirPods, I was kind of meh. The W1 idea, fascinated by. My question beyond, how is it going to work with Beats or like more of the headphones, which I'm prone to wear, and what's that going to look like? But are they going to allow other manufacturers to use that W1 to make it competitive or not? I don't know. Because I'd like a variety of options beyond just standard Bluetooth. The W1 chip may very well do it from Apple. It's an Apple design chip. Water and dust resistance is probably a big deal. Now, a lot of people are kind of like, headphone jack's gone, this and that. Oh, come on. You can't get that one thing without, you've got sacrifice, man. So ask anybody, and I've done this in the past, who's dropped a phone in some kind of liquid. Diana did. It's still working, thank God. If they would have preferred a water-resistant device, and I think, what is it, IP67, it's submergible. And the phone's going to survive. Part of getting that to happen is removing the physical button. So now it's going to be using haptic feedback. The button is basically not a button. When is a button not a button? It's a hardware button that works with two pieces of hardware and a piece of software. Fascinating to me. But how they figured it out, whatever, we'll give it a shot. I understand it's going to be different, certainly, much like the Magic Trackpad or the trackpads on the new MacBooks. Or is it touchpad, trackpad? I always mess that up. The that change, doesn't bother me yet. Haven't had a chance to use it. Don't imagine it being too much of a hurdle over time. Certainly, it will give them a lot of flexibility in how it might work with software. So. Okay, cool. So they made some changes, pretty dramatic changes, but over time you just kind of get used to them, and that's how I feel about the headphone jack and the button or the not button, whatever they're calling it. And then another thing that they've done is they've added stereo speakers, so top bottom. So, if you're watching a movie like this, you got not the first ones to do it, not at all, but apparently a more dynamic range, better speakers. So, okay, I'm happy about that. That is an absolute use case. I tend not to pair, I have a couple of Bluetooth speakers that I do use, but when I'm mobile, I don't use my car Bluetooth because it doesn't respond very quickly, honestly. So I don't pair it when I'm on the go. Sounds odd, I know, but it's true. I use too many other microphone features like dictation too frequently, or Siri even. Yeah, it's too slow for me when I connect it to a car. So water and dust proof, or dust resistance is what they call it. Very nice to have. Now, the only feature I wanted and needed and just was absolutely driven for was the camera. Camera's all I needed. Everything else is gravy. Seriously, top win, camera for me. So this is where having everything 6-element lens beyond a 5-element lens, so sharper images all around. 12 megapixels. It's not a megapixel race. The super. What are they? What? Not a photographer, but the range of colors supported. In conjunction with the quality of the screen that they're now using, higher quality all around. So I'm all about a higher quality picture. F-stop is now 1.8. That's the aperture. They've also improved speed, redesigned the processor, the ISP, and I want to say the sensor. They did both. So we're gonna have better pictures, snappier, quicker to get to. I'm happy. In conjunction with, it's easy to, I say it's easy and then I swiped, but on the 6S, it launches pretty quickly. I'm really hoping that it's going to be a better experience on the 7 with the camera, but just give me better pictures. That's all I want. That's it. So happy about that in the 7 and the 7 Plus. The optical zoom in the 7S, in the 7 Plus with the 2 lenses, one telephoto and one just the regular, you've got optical zoom option up to 2x, which is cool. And then you can jump up to 10x digital zoom, and it looks nice. Maybe I'm just not used to using zoom all that often. I use it every so often, but not that often. So the optical zoom is a bonus, but not a feature driver for me. The feature driver for me is what they're going to announce in portrait, the faux bokeh effect, where they're kind of emulating in software what bokeh would be like on a high-end DSLR. That to me is the thing that has me now on the fence with the 7. The 7S, or the 7 or the 7 Plus. Because of that coming feature is not available yet. They're still working on it. Hey, perfect it. That's great. The portrait feature, because what else are they going to unlock with 2 lenses? I think they can do a lot. We're just beginning to see the features that they can roll out. So for toy photography, it's amazing. I'm sitting here in front of a Commander Cody 6-inch that I unboxed the other day. Huge win. That's what's got me interested for my toy photography alone. That is exciting. It is very, very compelling. Even though the feature's not available immediately. My concern about the 7 Plus, again, is perf. How's it going to get handled? Even with a faster processor, faster everything, whatever, am I still going to see major frame rate issues across the platform like I did with the 6S Plus? I don't know. I can't answer that question. The one thing that's been rumored, but you don't believe in rumors, is that the 7 Plus comes with an additional gig of RAM. I don't know if that's true. But if it does, I'm probably going to float to the 7 Plus and deal with the screen size and all the issues I had with the screen size. Not being a good single-handed experience for better photography and maybe a snappier system. Or certainly something that's equally as snappy as the 6S is on iOS 10. So that was a big deal. I got to find out. No one can answer. No one can answer 2 questions. Will iOS 10 hold back performance on the Plus model again? And will the 7 Plus come with 1 more gig of RAM over the 2 gig of RAM that have been in the other phones? Don't know. Can't answer that question. No reviewer can tell me even before the tomorrow when we'll be able to get the phones or start to pre-order. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. I don't know if this year I'm going to get it tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to have the iPhone on opening day because I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of making the wrong decision again. So more dual lens features certainly coming down the pike. Apple's just beginning to think about it. The A10 Fusion chip sounds awesome, but what about real world performance differences? It's a quad core system effectively. You've got dual core managing the heavy lifting tasks, and then a couple I'm not gonna say smaller cores. What do they call them? So you've got your high performance cores and high efficiency CPUs should help with optimization because Apple's controlling the hardware and the software. So like if you're doing something like checking email in the background, that's not a high-end processor task. It can be handled by a low-end processor. So could we see better performance across the board with the splitting of those tasks? I'm thinking if they do it the right way, yes. Certainly better battery life. And I think that's what further adds to better battery life in the 7 is software optimization, specifically in relation to hardware optimization in the 7. I don't think it was all just a bigger battery. I think there were other tweaks. Graphics chip boost can't hurt at all. When you see their charts, they look like this, but notice the points on the chart, right? You've got they're set apart at a certain distance. Like here's the first iPhone, here's the latest iPhone, but you notice the leaps, the vertical leaps between the 6 and the 6S and the 6S and the 7, the vertical leaps are higher, which means that they're actually really dramatically improving performance, leaping in terms of performance, which is great. So I'm all for that, if only for a better iOS experience. That's all I want. I feel my apps open faster on iOS 10. I've been trying to get iOS 10 on the iPad, but I've been having issues, so I may have to do a system reset, restore on that, because I do want to try it sooner rather than later. On the developer builds, which is the GM. Having a 256 gig option, awesome. I'm probably going to do it. Because, when has anybody ever said, I have too much space? Well, sometimes you can overbuy, but I believe I'm at the point where I'm not overbuying. I'm ready. A 128 is very nice. It's a great option for a lot of people, most people. But I think I'm ready for a 256. Couple surprises for me. No Mac talk. Mac OS is kind of exciting. I'm actually running. This video is running through a system that's got the latest, the GM build, the Goldmaster build, which everybody will get here in a couple of weeks or a week or two. However long. When is it? The 13th? Is it coming out? No, the 20th. It's coming out on the 20th. No Mac talk, really, not just hardware. I was more interested in the software talk, but it's running fine. I've only hit maybe 1 or 2 snags, but that's related to software that I use. As a platform, it seems to be performing pretty well. Then I already said that so much time was spent on exercise. That's pretty much everything I had to say about where my thoughts are and my thoughts on the keynote. It was enjoyable. And I haven't decided what I'm going to get yet. Other than the Watch Series 1, I am going to get. Black is probably the iPhone I'm going to get. I'm trying to get as much information out of anybody that I can about how much RAM comes in the 7 Plus. But I'm leaning. That's why I want to get iOS 10 running on my iPad. I want to see how it runs on a higher resolution screen. Granted, it's got a lot of hardware, and it was a better performer than a 6S. I'm also going or 6S Plus in terms of iOS 9. But I got to do a lot of updating today to prepare myself for a decision tomorrow. So will I get the 7 Plus or the 7 right now? I don't know. If I do get the 7 Plus and don't like it, Diana's going to receive it, and I'm going to go and get the 7. And then I'll just hey, I need to do a bokeh effect. Can I borrow your phone? Oh, another thing they updated. Sorry, I forgot about this. That is useful. Selfie camera, or they call it FaceTime camera. Now 7 megapixel video stabilization. And this is the front-facing camera, this one, and 1080p, which if you watch the vlogs, you know Diana uses that on a regular basis. So that's a really cool option to have for our needs. I thought of something else they did. They did the 720p camera. They updated something else that would be nice for us, and I can't remember what it was. Well, they made a few updates that I think would be awesome. I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I do love you. I do appreciate you. The patrons got all this information ahead of everybody else, as they get pretty much most of my attention when it comes to technology information these days, for a lot of good reasons. Thank you for supporting me in whatever way that you see fit. I do love you. I appreciate you. But at this point, I'm going to leave you to your own devices. Today's free highlight was brought to you by all of my active patrons from chrisperillo.com. If you want access to the full TLDR episodes, both audio, video, past, present, and future, which can be up to an hour long or longer, with even more tech insight from me, plus other bonus content without ads, and support me at the same time, you can sign up to become one of my supernomies too. This is just a brief taste of what I'm producing for you. Again, get more through chrisperillo.com.